Now, let's get started. It is my absolute pleasure to present the Honourable Sheikh Imran Abdulla, Minister of Home Affairs, Republic of Maldives.
Excellencies, honorable ministers, speakers, participants, and distinguished guests, Assalamu alaikum and good morning. It is truly an honor for me to participate in this year's Global Security Forum hosted by Sofan Center. Before I begin, I would like to thank the Qatari government and the management of the Sofan Center for hosting such a productive and engaging forum and for ensuring that all participants have had a remarkable time here in Doha. Ladies and gentlemen, it has been my utmost pleasure to engage with colleagues from across the world and participate in this event to address the most pressing security issues of our time. Over the duration of this conference, we have held productive discussions on critical matters facing our respective nations and have explored the different areas where countries in the region and around the world can work together to achieve solutions to these mostly common issues. While we as sovereign nations may be tempted to focus on maximizing our self-interests, as global stakeholders, we must be cautious of the far-reaching impact of our actions. Excellencies, as a small island developing nation, or as some call it, a large ocean state with limited human and technical resource, the Maldives is especially vulnerable to the myriad of issues that have been discussed, such as the climate crisis, both domestic and international terrorism, as well as shifting scale of geopolitical power dynamics. In retrospect, these circumstances pointed to overwhelming need to reflect on the vulnerabilities of our security landscape to stay ahead for terrorism and other transnational crime. For us, this now also includes familiarizing ourselves with the security impact of the climate crisis. How should we prepare for the world with more extreme weather events, fights over limited resources, and increased migrations? These vulnerabilities have been highlighted exponentially during the COVID-19 pandemic, when the global transport network and system and we are reliant on for our livelihoods were brought to standstill. The pandemic has also demonstrated the adaptability of terrorist network. While parts of the world had to be shut down, it merely forced terrorists to change the way they operate. By transitioning into digital space, this network stepped up their online propaganda, increasing and diversified recruitment efforts, specifically targeting minors, and engage in terrorism financing through the exploitation of online cryptocurrencies. I also would like to take a moment to appreciate this selfless partnership demonstrated by nations in this critical time. This has been a true testimony of how cooperation between nations can be helped overcome the greatest challenges. Dear participants, what transpired in Afghanistan after the fall of its elected government has brought forth uncertainties regarding the security climate of the region. It is imperative for regional as well as global partners to work together in addressing pertinent issues such as the flow of refugees as well as the possibility of foreign terrorist fighters. and other non-state actors taking advantage of this chaos. Afghanistan, as well as Syria and Iraq before, demonstrate that destabilizing events are not necessarily confined to national borders and may have lasting ripple effects on a global scale. As citizens of this increasingly interconnected world, it is in our best interest to ensure that we stay prepared and have contingencies to efficiently deal with such crises. Ladies and gentlemen, lastly, I would like to offer my thought and perspective to preventing and countering the threat of violent extremism. As some distinguished guests participating in this conference may be aware, close to 200 Maldivian citizens traveled to Syria and Iraq between 2012 to 2018. And a fairly large contingent of these travelers are expected to return in the near future. In anticipating of their returns, under the premise of CVE, the Maldives government recently established the National Reintegration Center, which is designed and equipped to rehabilitate returnees and help their reintegration back to the society. Several other countries are facing a similar prospect with regarding to the returnees today. I firmly believe that the future of counterterrorism lies in the strengthening of our local and international PCVE efforts that address vulnerabilities in our communities and efforts that seek to adequately and humanly repatriate and rehabilitate men, women, and children returning from the conflict zones. I would like to assure my colleagues that Maldives recognize that the challenges we face requires global solutions. It is our highest priority to establish connections and work together to achieve our common objectives. We must present a united front in the face of evolving and daunting challenges. This is the only way we can ensure lasting peace and prosperity. Thank you.